Hello there, everybody. I have a very special guest today.
Hello!
You may or may not, by which I mean, of course you bloody do, because where have you been? If not, no, the gorgeous Miss Ember HoneyRaven.
Hello, hello, hello.
I will pop all links down below. It's not going to be necessary, of course, but if you haven't seen Ember, this face.
Yes, this is the face. Well, my face hasn't been around a lot the last year or two, so hello, it's me. Hi.
We're bringing Ember back.
Yes.
Back again.
Back again.
Talk about the Morrigan. So that rhymes.
Yeah.
That's how we should start.
Yeah, people were really excited the last time. It's been a long time since we did a chat about the Morrigan, but let's do this. Like, let's talk about it because she's been super, super active and around. And we've both had some experiences. And for folks listening, like I was just telling Joey, like we have a lot of overlap, Joey and I. We're both Virgo. We have a lot of like life path overlap, a lot of very similar experiences. And we're both daughters of the Morrigan. So it's like, hi, sister from across the pond.
Sister from another mister.
Right?
Yeah. It's like, I feel your pain because I've been there not that long ago.
Yes, and it's also scary because it's like when you go through something, I'm like, oh shit, is that coming up?
Batten down the hatches, no!
Right? And you're like, don't do that! Right?
Yeah, really. Gosh. So we actually are talking kind of surviving and alchemizing that into thriving under the Morrigan today. We're talking about how you get through difficult times, through trauma, through stress, through grief, through the stuff that people really struggle with and people find it kind of difficult to talk about.
Yes.
And in difficult climates of political and social and economic unrest, shall we say, a lot of us have found, like Ember was saying previously, like turning to their path, their spirituality, their craft, more and more and more to get through the difficult parts. So we're going to talk about that today. I'm not sure how we start that.
Well, I'll say this can start it. And Joey, I think you may have gone through this, but talk about this otherwise. People always, I see lots of videos on YouTube and I've heard from lots of people, hey, I'm not feeling my goddess around me. My goddess is gone, blah, blah, blah. I went through a little bit of that. It's been about 3 or 4 years ago where I was like, wow, I am not feeling connected. I'm not hearing mama. I'm not getting messages like what's happening. And, I was not aware at the time that I was actually going through my process exactly the way I was supposed to. And, I hated this, but it occurred to me, okay, mama has now sat back and said, these are the things that you are going to have to deal with. I am not going to hold your hand through this. You are a grown woman. You are now going to have to work X, Y, and Z problem to get to your solution. And, it is a tough feeling to feel abandoned. In your baby feelings, you can feel abandoned. You feel powerless and you feel like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. But, she's not always a proponent of tough love, but it can feel like that sometimes. I think people sometimes have a misconception about Morrigan that she's all fangs and blood and tough love. And that is a huge misconception, I think. I think that she is, people always tend to juxtapose her energy with Gaia energy, where Gaia is this soft and welcoming and blah, blah, blah thing. And I don't mean to be disrespectful with the blah, 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 but Morrigan is a loving mother. She is a watchful mother, and she does prepare us even when we think we are not prepared to go through our experiences. So with that said, I think it would be helpful to talk about the ways in which she does come in and out of our space when we're in stress, when we have lots of things going on and we're kind of clamoring at her dress for, oh my God, what do I do? And she's like, no, you've got the tools, use them.
Well, I call it her silent watcher mode. And a lot of people get really stressed out, especially the first time it happens to them. But I kind of work in that natural cycle as a person. Like I definitely have points where I'm like, I cannot people right now. I need to be hermiting. I need to be like in my own space. I need to be like with books. and music or writing or something, and just know people for a while. And sometimes I get a bit stuck there and I drop off the face of the earth a bit, and I have to be super careful not to do that. So when the Morrigan was like that, I was just like, me, that's just like me. So, but she absolutely does have like these energetic things of like the lessons and the full on, and maybe you get dreaming and however you communicate, and you're getting a very strong sense of energy and you're writing everything down like crazy. There's a lot of synchronicities happening and you're very like, oh wow, and it's very tangible, it's very real perhaps. And I think for a lot of people it's perhaps the most tangible they've ever had it with her deity, because it gets into the strangest and most everyday occurrences, and it's like, whoa, there's the Morrigan in my coffee cup. And then suddenly it's like zoop, quiet. And I always think you can still feel her energy if you really are quiet internally and feel. But I think a lot of people panic and they don't calm themselves down and feel that she's still there energetically. It's just that she has gone behind the veil and been like, okay, how do you deal with it then?
Yes.
And it's very much that kind of, it's a very mentor-y teacher but loving relationship, in that she knows that you can do this. She has such faith in you that she came to you, and it's kind of like that quote, it's like, you were given this life not to go why me, but to be like, try me, because she knows that you can conquer this. And I had some moments recently where I was like on the bathroom floor, like screaming at her, like, really, after everything, you putting me here, and what, I had my why me moment, and and I had Chris ring me up at 3 a.m. because she's like, the Morrigan just like sledgehammered into my room and she said that you needed me. Yeah. And I was like, yes, at 3 a.m. But she's right, we can get back up, and there's something in that achievement of doing it that helps reforge us, I think. And it's very important part of not being fed everything.
Yes.
When we're evolving. And
yes.
Yeah.
And I think this is the thing that I've observed. I think that she is very, very in tune with her daughters who are specifically struggling with self-worth, when they are struggling with empowerment, when they are struggling with accepting the messages as truth, when they are struggling with all of the things that women in general struggle with. But I'm telling you, maybe this is too self-absorbed or self-focused, but I think daughters of the Morrigan specifically have a very special hell to go through when it comes to self-worth, because it is very hard won for every daughter of the Morrigan I have ever come in contact with. Our self-worth has been the biggest struggle. Mm-hmm. Trusting ourselves so that we can trust in love and opportunity and all the things that come our way, because we are the ones who are like, oh, I probably don't deserve that, or oh, I probably haven't worked hard enough for that, or oh, I'm not pretty enough. All those messages, they're very amplified for daughters of the Morrigan. So I think she has special insight into those of us as we go through those self-worth cycles. I'm over the age of 40, so I've been through several of them. You have your return of Saturn in your early 20s, and then when you hit your 30 milestone, you kind of have another little shuffle, and then when you hit 40, you have a big shuffle in my respect. And her energy has been different at each of those milestones. In my early 20s, it was very actively, I'm holding your hand through this. You're going to receive some audible messages. You're going to see your path laid out before you. In my 30s, it was less of the hand holding and more of the, okay, I'm here to kick your butt. You will do this. In my 40s, it was, I'm now going to be seated. You have been given all of the tools, and you are either going to believe in yourself or you are going to fail at this entire process, and that is up to you. Mm. But that also, as painful as it was, and as, it felt hurtful. It hurt, to feel, okay, am I really on my own? And the answer is no, you're never on your own. You just don't have the support that you want or that you think you need.
Or it doesn't look like you think it should look
yes.
like.
Yes.
That's been a really big, I felt incredibly alone, incredibly isolated recently. And the Morrigan was basically like, she just kept saying break. And that's the only answer I was getting. I was getting break, and I was like, I don't want to break. I want to handle it. I want to deal with it myself. I want to. And she was like, break. And so I broke. And I've said a few times in a few different places, it was like when I broke and fell, because she told me to, there were thousands of hands waiting to help me. And I was moved by it in such a way that it's going to make me cry even now. Like,
Well, of course.
I make up, guys.
I know, you're like, oh my God, you're so beautiful too. It's like, please don't make me mess up these sparkles. But you know, Joey, that is a thing. It is, and it's part of that. I'm going to help you rebuild your self-worth, and it's not going to look like it, because, you know, when you struggle with, you know, I've made mistakes, or your self-worth, and it kind of translates into, you really think nobody sees you. You really think nobody hears you. You really think nobody understands you. So then when you open your arms and do the death fall, and you fall backwards, and you are caught by people who love you and people who are invested in your well-being, it is a form of rebuilding your self-worth, because it is like, no, your truth is not the truth. These hands catching you, that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's powerful stuff.
It was life-changing. It was hugely life-changing for me. It changed the way I thought about community. It changed the way I thought about myself. And she said later, like, there was an army at your back waiting.
Yes.
In the way that she does. Morrigan likes to be of few words and make each one of them like boom, like powerful. But she's like, I told you, that kind of thing. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. You did.
I had a similar, you know, I went through a very lengthy process, about 3 years worth, of having my entire little realm of self systematically dismantled. Everything that I thought about myself and my relationships with other people, all of it had to be examined microbe by microbe, which is tedious and painful and not a lot of fun. However, as you are going through it and you realize, again, that your truth is not necessarily the truth, you sometimes are really pleasantly surprised by, wow, that connection is actually much deeper than I expected it to be. That connection is more powerful than I expected it to be. And I think you'll agree with this too. When we are going through that process, however long or however short time it takes, we also learn to put value on relationships in a different way. And we also learn how to dismiss toxic relationships in a different way. We learn our self-worth. We learn that we are worthy of having empowered, positive, loving people around us.
Mm-hmm. There's the thing I'm going through right now, and I'm currently choosing not to be with anyone. And it's not like I don't have options, but I am choosing not to be with anyone for now. And my sister
So y'all hear that, all y'all people? You can just simmer down. I know she's fine, but she's doing her own thing for me.
Well, unless Morrigan wants to, you know, shuffle in the perfect Celtic warrior, you know, then sure. Like, I'm not going to disagree with her. But I consciously made this choice that I needed the time to heal, because I felt that for too long, especially as a Virgo, I'm sure you know this, like Virgos, like, they want to be of service to other people. They want to help people. They want to like lift other people up. They want to connect with people. And they spend so much of their time like giving and looking outside of the self, and even to the point where even our jobs become about that as well. Like, we don't think about work the same way as a lot of other people do. Earth signs do this in a lot, I think, but like when I'm creating things for people, that's for people. So I chose and got quite sick as well, to the point where I had to rest, because she just was slapping all the witches at the end of 2018, like, sit down, shut up, silence, sleep, rest. And it's like everyone I know, and it's like every daughter of the Morrigan I know has had it, like proper like illness, and had to really, you know, take some time. And that she's been like, no, that's what you need to do right now. You need to focus on self, and it needs to be, okay, who are you as a queen, undefined by anyone else? And so that's something that I've been looking at, and bonds of like sisterhood and female company has been a major theme for me, and it's kind of been reevaluating everything we've been taught about how to interact with other women through society and through like bad conditioning through parenting and whatnot. So
you back to one, you know, and that's the thing. She takes us back to one. She takes us back to our base self when we've, you know, sometimes we're off track with our path. Sometimes it's not even about being off track. It's just that we don't recognize where we're at. And she takes us back to one. And sometimes that is about stripping everything. You know, the Morrigan, when you pull her tarot, she's often the Tower card because she is about, no, all of this, what is your foundation? What is the foundation? She really is, I have not found her in my life to be the frilly decorator of life. She really is about the brick and mortar and the foundation. And if you build a shaky house and you put a beautiful roof made out of flowers on it, she gives not one shit. Like, I want to know if it's going to survive a hurricane. You know, and it really is about taking it back to one. And, you know, I love what you said about relationships with women. That has been the number one surviving place for me. Going through any kind of trauma in my entire life, I have always, when I cannot get to one, I can get to 2 or 3 or 4, the women around me. Those trusting, loving, open relationships that are not competitive, they are uplifting, they are healthy, they are the open arms that you need. They're mama's arms. They're just on this plane. You know?
I've been finding making those connections as well, particularly of late. Like when I seriously needed help, the community on mass helped me, but a few women went so far beyond what I could ever have asked for or hoped for even. And it was just, there is this, I mean no disrespect to guys, because I love you guys, and some men will, of course, you know, go above and beyond too. But women go into survivor helping, pitching in mode when things are traumatic, and it feels very Morriganic in a way.
It is group work.
Yeah.
We take that on as a tribe. Not all women get to be in that tribe, because not all women are healthy enough to be in that tribe. But the women who have done their own work, who have already survived, who have recognized the power of loving other women as you would love yourself, those are the women who take that on in the tent, in the tribe. They're like, no, we are a family in this. I may not even know some of these women, but we all recognize the need to uplift the one of us who needs it.
Yeah, and I found I've connected with women who I don't necessarily meet in person, and yet the bonds are still as deep, they're still as connective. And you were talking about having these people around you that support you. There's another part to that Morrigan has allowed to happen, which is you can have these deep, meaningful connections with these women if you're willing to go through the difficult parts, if the bits where you need to be honest. So if you're having a shadow moment, if you're having conflicting shadows and they're getting in the way, that you need to be able to have a sit-down conversation honestly and from a place of, you know, open heart, lovingness, and try not to judge. And I had major lessons about listening to other women and not allowing other people who was besmirching other women, whether I liked them or not, but to listen and not be told. So that's something that's definitely like, listen to the women and don't be told who they are. Listen, and you will get a feeling, an understanding, an inkling. And that had come into this kind of empowerment and self-sovereignty thing that Morrigan was taking me through. Like, don't be quick to judge. Don't be told who someone is, because you are sick of being told who you are. So don't like apply that to other people. And there's been that lesson from the Morrigan, which is you're not who they say you are. You're who you are. And radiate that.
Beginning at about 3.5 years ago, I went through this period of listening to Beyonce's Lemonade album on repeat for months. And there's a song, and I quote this song often because it has become an anthem. And she basically says, when you love me, you love yourself. When you diss me, you diss yourself. When you hurt me, you hurt yourself. When you love me, you love God herself. I find such divinity in that. And it really speaks to that place in us where we have to learn to love and uplift and empower other women exactly as they are, so that those doors of our own heart with ourselves can be open, and vice versa. We have to fully love and embrace ourselves so that we can see the beauty in other people. And I just, you know, that's the one anthem that I keep coming back to, and it's now over 3 years old, but it's a good reminder that, you know, if I'm having a negative thought about another woman in particular, it generally is a call to action that there's something with myself I need to be working on. That is a lesson that has been brought to me by the Morrigan. If I get annoyed because some woman is over here, you know, her business is exploding, and I'm like, God, blah, 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 you know, oh my God, she's such a whatever. It's a call to action for me. I'm not doing the work that I need to be doing, because, you know, if I'm doing the work that I need to be doing and I'm doing all I can do, then I feel joyful about seeing other women go and get their paper, go and, you know, explode their life the way they want to. That's been a powerful lesson.
And we have to, I always say with these things, it's always careful that you still have your boundaries. You don't have to accept shitty behavior just because you are open to lifting other women up, because that's the other side of this, isn't it? That you still have to have boundaries. Like, love with your whole heart and have boundaries like a motherfucker, basically. It's just
basically
like...
that quote that says, heart wide open, strong fucking fences. And it really is, because that's the thing that the Morrigan has also taught us. Not everyone is worthy of your love, because your love is powerful and it has been hard won. And it is worth something. It's not something that you just need to give to people because they're in need of love. Your love does not have to be their soothing balm for whatever they're going through. I don't necessarily believe that people have to earn my love, you know, because that creates imbalance for me, just for myself. But if it's something that I want to freely give because I feel they need it, you know, I work with that. But I also am very, very careful with allowing people who will siphon off everything you will give them, because that's another lesson in boundaries.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We could talk boundaries all day.
I take it you have learned quite a few.
Just a few. There was also, I will say though, listen to your own instincts has been a big thing for me too, because that has been, this is again, what you know versus what you're told, which has been a big lesson, right? If women know.
Yes.
Women just know. If you're messing around, you're cheating, you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, women know in their gut.
Yep, you're trying to manipulate me, you're lying to me. We know. We may not know exactly what the lie is, but we know when we are being fed some BS. We know. And we may just do that thing where we smile and nod and go, but it's all being fed in. It's all being fed in. And at some point, it will become a picture.
Yeah. So there's definitely been that kind of energy. I suppose we should talk about some of the ways in which we connect to the Morrigan in order to get through those difficult times, because I guess that's what people would like to know is, what does that look like or feel like, or how do they go about connecting? And it doesn't have to be the Morrigan, it can be your deity as well, obviously, but how do you do that? How does that look like for you?
You know, I will tell you, when I was going through the height of my stress and trauma, I was having a really, really hard time. I was trying meditation and I could not get my brain to just shut off. But I will tell you that Morrigan has appeared to me through my body multiple times. And what has generally happened is I will actually do what I call trance yoga. I will light some incense, and I do it by myself. I don't do this in a group setting. I will light some incense. I will take a spiritual bath. I will get fully nude. I will put on some music that feels connected to me. I will light her candle, and I will go into the room fully nude and do some intense body movement, because I can feel her in my body. I can feel her working. And it's really interesting because I'll be laying on the floor trying to do some weird pose that probably looks really strange when you're naked. I mean, do happy baby when you're naked, and it's, you know, that's just not very attractive, or maybe some people it is. But you know, I will feel this rush come over me, and it's such an emotional energy. I have literally bawled through an hour of yoga. For me, it is about body connection a lot of times. The spiritual connection comes with that. It is about, can I feel the weight in my muscle? Can I feel her as I stretch? And the answer is yes, because I tend to hold a lot of my stress and trauma in my actual physical body.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally, though, spiritually, when I can't meditate, a lot of times it is just about going outside and connecting with nature. Sometimes it is as simple as taking a walk and listening to, I have a, I don't know if you've ever listened to binaural music, where some people use it to do trance meditation, but it is music that kind of comes in at different points in your headset. Sometimes it's in both ears, sometimes it's just in one, but it's pulsing and beating, and it kind of goes along with your heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
I will put that on and just walk with it. And again, I can feel it in my body, but it seems to center my mind and calm my thoughts enough that I can hear her say, all right, now, are you ready to listen? Or, okay, now, that thing that happened yesterday, are you now ready to address that? It's about physical with me. I know it's not that way with everybody. So tell me how you do it. Is it physical? Is it more mental? Is it?
Well, it's interesting because the last time all of this happened, I was so shut down. And if Joey wants to shut down, nobody getting in. Nobody. Because I grew up in a really awful environment. So I've basically got an elasticated aura. Basically, it's just like, bing. No, if no, I don't want in, no one's getting in. And because I conduit so much, I know how to shut it all down as well. So when this first happened, I had 5 different people get messages from the Morrigan who had never heard from the Morrigan before in their life go, Joey, I need to tell you this. And I was like, you're the 4th person. That's a bit creepy. None of these people know each other. That's a bit odd. And I was like, okay. And Chris helps me with that too, because she's very dialed in and we're very connected. So if I'm very switched off, she'll poke me and the other way around. But something that happens to me, I actually blade dance a lot, like what you were talking about with the yoga. So I will either use actual blades or I will envisage blades, depending on how big the space is and whether or not the cat's around, because I did not need to be falling on my ass with blades with a cat in the room. So and that's very much about the movement. Like it's very difficult to explain it, isn't it? But it's very much like the heaviness in the arm as you extend the blade, and the blade becomes a part of yourself, and it kind of like draws your power in. So that's definitely a thing. And something
very Tai Chi in a way. It feels
very deliberate.
And it starts up here for me. And it may, some people, I think it probably starts in their heart chakra, but it starts up here. But as you elongate the body and feel the weight and move, it does feel like she's flowing out and just cleansing all of that out of you. And I totally get the blade, because it does feel very, I don't know, it just feels very like warrior training. It's like the maneuvers that you have to go through to ready yourself for battle.
Absolutely. And she does another thing, which is when I'm really not listening, or when I'm really like, I've closed myself off. This is Babe, but in particular, I'll close my eyes and I'll see a crow, and a crow will be this far away from my face. And I'll be like, hi. And I can see it as I talk about it now, because I tapped into that space and I can see it. And the eyes are huge. So it's like big. It's not like Raven. It's like Raven. And you can see all the cosmos within her eyes. And it's like you then just switch. And it's like you switch into the crow and you like become it. And it just shifts your energy entirely. And she did it to me the first time that it happened. But I can do it for myself now. So if I'm in a very, very bad place and I just need to shift out of that and back into that spiritual headspace, I can just tap into that visualization and just flip. And then the energy just flips. She just takes over, and just, you become part of the spiritual ecosystem. You just tap into something so beyond the little one human experience that you're having, that it kind of blows those cobwebs out a little bit. So
it occurs to me that the physical connection that we make with Morgan, I used to not, it was not a physical connection for me before. Used to, when I was not feeling stress in the same way, I could just meditate, light a candle, incense, and just lay there and think, and I felt very connected. the physical has come with the need to be more grounded, the need to be more centered, and the need to feel at home in my body, which again ties back to the self-worth. So I do think, you know, as we go through the path that we go through, I think we are able to connect with her in different ways. So for folks who are wondering, like they're saying, oh, I can't connect with her physically, that's okay, because you're not always going to use physical movement to connect with her. Sometimes it is about spell work. Sometimes it's about meditation. Sometimes it is, you know, just sitting and breathing. She will come to you. You just have to figure out what your conduit is going to be.
Have you ever angry meditated with
Oh,
Morrigan?
yes.
So this is something that happens with me. If I'm so angry or like het up that I can't meditate, like serene meditate, I stick on the angry music.
Yes.
And quite often I get like full-blown visualizations from the Morrigan anyway, because it taps into that warrior, that primal, that action, that movement. And I did it with In This Moment, their Rain of Fire song, and I full on channeled the Morrigan through this song, and I was like nails and blood and meh, meh. And then the thing that happens is that you then get all that angry energy out, and then you calm down again, and then you're like, okay, I can do some normal meditation now.
Right. Yeah, you do need it though. You need that place of just, I don't know why, like this is what the vision that I get though. You know that one painting, and it was it Saturn eating his son? I can't remember who painted it, but he's literally holding this tiny little corpse of his son, and he's about to eat it. And that's the image that I get. It really is cannibalizing the feeling and the emotion back into yourself and processing that emotion and energy back into something that is actually useful for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. I think that some folks, I have been around some folks who cannot process their rage in a healthy way. So they radiate it out onto other people. But there is a healthy reason for rage sometimes. Sometimes you need to feel your rage. You need to be in your rage. And I think that rage meditating, I'm a fan of like 9 Inch Nails or Sepultura or some of the, you know, acid metal. I'm a fan of like, you know, that crazy, you know, warrior music where you may just go pick up a bloody steak and just eat the whole thing raw, or maybe smash a cow eyeball into your face. Like you just feel primal. You feel feral with it, and you need to. You know?
We know what Ember does in her spare time now.
Because I'm a petite and dainty flower.
You heard it here first. Smashing eyeball.
Yes. You know, I think I appreciate that though. I think that, you know, sometimes your self-worth dictates that you're not allowed to be angry.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me, it's been a struggle, which is why I have allowed some people and behaviors around me that are toxic in my life, because, you know, I felt like anger, I was not allowed to have anger. We are really raised that way as women. Sometimes we are only supposed to get loud when we are in labor or in mourning. And I say, screw that. We're supposed to be loud anytime we feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that rage is a healthy emotion, and I kind of dip into it often, you know?
I think, I mean, it's the X-Men quote, but it's true that sometimes anger helps us survive. And it absolutely is the case. And for me, it got me through the latter half of the last year. Like being permanently angry was a thing. And there are reasons for that. Nobody is angry, like angry without justification most of the time. Obviously, some people struggle with their emotions and whatnot, but most people, especially in the spiritual community, who are constantly like self-evaluating if they're doing the work, then for them to be angry, there's something going on. So no, I think I'm a big advocate for like, we need all the emotions.
Absolutely. They all have value, not just the happy, fuzzy puppies and kitties and glitter ones. They
Mm-hmm.
all have value. Even sadness has its place. We are supposed to feel grief. You know, that's another thing that I wanted to say about Morrigan. I was not a person who knew how to grieve properly. I have always been a person that when it came to grief, I, again, felt like I was not allowed to be sad because I was missing something, or sad that something ended. And I think Morrigan is especially helpful in helping us realize there are healthy ways to grieve, and there are ways to tell yourself, I'm allowed to grieve for however long it takes in whatever way it manifests. Because grief is healthy, especially when you have been in situations where someone has either crapped all over you, or you have gone through a process and the end of it was not what you expected. You know, we're allowed that. We're allowed to be sad. She's just been helpful in rounding out, you know, we all get this little basket of emotions that we know. She's been helpful in saying, yes, each of these have equal value.
Well, I've said in an older video somewhere, I said, like, I think in times of pain, we find out who we really are. And that applies to mourning and grieving, but it's not just who we are, it's who we are becoming.
Yes.
Because for me, sadness is kind of like crossing the river. So it's kind of like, because Morrigan has that river association. So to me, it's very much like you wade through that river, you feel it, you're in that emotional center, you're surrounded by it. It feels like you're going to drown at some points, but you come slowly up the other side and you come out changed.
You do. Water is about transformation. Air is about transformation. You know, we go through transformations, but water especially is about, you know, I just get the image of, you know, if you look at a river and you see like the swirling eddies, I remind myself, don't get stuck in the swirling eddy. You're supposed to flow with the emotion in the river. And I also think of, you know, water dripping from the ceiling of caves where you have, you know, stalactites. It will transform. It may make you bigger. It may, you know, it has the ability to drill a hole in cement over time, for God's sakes. It's just helpful for us to remember that she works through us in ways that we sometimes don't recognize. We just have to go with it. We have to go with the process. And that was the thing I was going to say earlier when you said, she kept saying, break. I kept hearing, let it go. And I'm like, what are you, Elsa? I heard that for 3 solid years. Let it go. You know, oh, I don't want to do this painful thing. Let it go. Oh, I'm so angry because so-and-so did this. Let it go. And it really was just that, yeah, you need to focus on what's important, because all this crap is not important. Focus on what's important, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely that lesson of where your focus is, that's what you're feeding. And that's true with the coming through trauma, through difficulties, and hanging on to the resentment sides of trauma, which is super freaking easy to do, by the way, because whether it's you blaming yourself, whether you're blaming other people, whether other people have done some shit to you, it's super easy to fixate outside and be like, they did this and they did that, and this is, you know, to get like rage or indignant. Like, indignant is my default for being pissed off with people. Yes. But I have come to a place where I just don't care.
Yeah.
And it's freeing. It's so liberating. Like, yeah, I just don't care. I'm going to be over here. I'm going to be focusing on the stuff that I do care about, the stuff that it matters to me. And that stuff over there, I don't care. And
that's the thing I've been saying. Like, I'm just over here living my best life. You do, you know, whatever you're doing over there, have fun with that. Because, you know, we have a couple of minutes left, but I wanted to ask you, what is the one thing, the one phrase, the one vision, the one symbol, as you've gone through different phases of coming through trauma, coming through grief, and Morrigan has kind of swooped in and out of your life? What is the one thing that comes to mind that you would want other people to know about how she works with you? I get the phrase, thank you. And that's kind of where I've sat in gratitude for all that I've gone through, and the ways in which she has shown up for me, and the ways in which she has demanded that I show up for her. I just get the phrase, thank you.
I tend to feel that she comes through and she's like, I've got you. That's something I've heard many, many times. Like, no matter what, I've always got you, and I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
And so that I then alchemize that into making sure that who I'm becoming is kind of worthy of her being proud of me. So it's kind of like, I want to keep getting better. I want to keep being braver and bolder and more myself, and undoing the conditioning that's been done to me and getting back to the truth of something. I think
really, we are proud of you too, because here's the thing. anyone who has been paying any kind of attention over the last year with you has seen you, you know, you're on fire again. You are really blooming back into that space of fullness and of health in all areas. And, you know, that space where you are just kind of, I don't know, taking up the sky with your presence. And, you know, not to be condescending, but I'm so proud to see that. Like, anytime I see a woman, you know, she's on fire again, I'm just like, yes, yes.
Thank you.
True empowered woman.
It's good to feel back in my own skin again. It's good to feel like myself again.
Yes.
So thank you.
That's the thing. Like, sometimes you just have to look in the mirror and go, oh, there you are. Oh, I missed you. You know, you have to just remember who you are. And she helps us with that.
Oh, if there's anything that Morrigan will give you, it's to remind you who the fuck you are.
Awesome. Well, we should, I guess we're at our time. So.
We are. We're at time, and momentarily Zoom will go, oh my God, you've had time, go away. And so thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me. And thank you guys for watching this. Links will all be down below. If you have any questions, if you would like to pop those down below. If you want to see more of the Morrigan interviews that I'm doing, I have another one lined up for next week. But we're going to keep doing these because I love them. I love chatting about Morrigan.
Yes. All right. All right. All right. Well, check in and let us know how you're doing, and we will keep watching you.
Is there anything you want to announce before for people to go check out before we close down?
No, I think I'm good. I'm gonna put a little blurb up about this so that people can watch it on your channel. But yeah, other than that, just hey, people need to get back on YouTube. Like, where are all the witches? I need to see some witches. Make some videos. We need TV.
I think everybody's like just being quiet right now. I think everyone's like, ugh.
Yeah. Like, oh, I'm good.
Oh, so thank you so much again. And
So much. It's been a pleasure.
Bye, guys.
Okay. Have a good one.